I would like to welcome you all to our second annual Campus Compact EnviroCore Project Showcase. This is the end of our second service year, and we are so excited to get some presentations from our members across the country about what they've been working on and the awesome environmental projects that they've been doing in their communities. Just a few housekeeping items. Each host site will get to present for no more than 5 minutes. We're going to try and stick pretty closely to that just to make sure that everyone has time and that we have a little bit of time for questions. And we'll also have some time for questions right after each session. We'll see if anyone has one or two questions, just quick follow-ups, and time for more extensive questions at the end. This is a space to celebrate your service. We really look forward to seeing all your pictures and hearing your stories and seeing your stats. Without further ado, I think we can jump right in. Our first site is Colby Sawyer College.
Hi guys. I'm gonna first start and introduce you to my intern Lucy. I don't think you guys have met her yet, but she's gonna start us off with talking about our energy efficiency and what we did during our assessments.
Hi, my name is Lucy. We conducted a total of 7 home energy assessments across 4 towns in our area. We had 19 interventions. Included were handing out LED light bulbs, a total of 6, 4 shower heads, 1 sink aerator, 7 things of weather stripping, and 2 things of rope caulking. We did a lot. It was nice to see everybody in the community and everybody who wanted our help.
Yeah, and then I'll talk about some of our education events. As far as campus education went, our biggest thing was a movie night that we had as part of our Earth Week. We watched a documentary and had a really nice group discussion just about conservation and public opinion and what we as individuals can do to support conservation. We had 16 students come. It was right before finals week, so I would consider that a win. On campus, we also had a tabling event. I've been working with the faculty sustainability committee throughout the year, and they have been focusing a lot on promoting positive recycling habits. So also during Earth Week, we had this table, which we had some cornhole games that had different things that could either be recycled or put in the trash, and students had to come grab 4 bags and then put them in the correct cornhole thing. That was super fun. In the community, we had a Earth Day celebration, and that was with the New London Rec Department. We had some educational things that we passed out, some crafts. We had some performances by a local drumming group that sang Earth theme songs. We had about 30 community families attend, so that was really awesome to see. We also had an environmental expo, which was here on campus, and it featured 7 local environmental organizations that I had been working with throughout the year. We had about 32 members of the community attend that, and that was super awesome to see what was available in the New London area and like the Kearsarge community. Our last thing was a seed library event. Lucy was a huge part of this. We helped the Colby Sawyer Library to create a seed library, and we hosted this event to promote the library and encourage community members to grow native plants from seeds. We had the local kids school come, and they all planted their own little seed starters, and it was a super fun day.
We also made some educational handouts for people that may not know how to garden in the area. We also have some educational handouts for those that might want to start their own garden indoors too. I thought that was a pretty cool addition. We also decorated the seed library. That was a fun day where we had to haul out that giant filing cabinet. I loved doing the work with the seed library. I know Ella did too.
Lastly, I'll talk about our ecosystem projects. At the very beginning of my service term, I had a styrofoam collection day, which was with the New London Waste Reduction Committee. Colby Sawyer recycled 6 50-gallon bags of donated styrofoam, and that came from mostly the science labs. All of their lab equipment comes in styrofoam and it can't be recycled. From the community itself, there was 150 pounds of styrofoam that was collected. We took it to this recycling center that specializes in styrofoam, and they actually reuse the styrofoam and reshape it for different hospitals in the area. Next was an invasive species removal with the Kearsarge Indian Museum, a group of, I think it was 8 volunteers. We removed bittersweet, which is a super invasive species here, from about 100 square foot area. They have this huge tree right at the front of their property that was being choked by it. So we spent the day clearing that out, as well as they have some accessible trails for hiking and walking, and we helped clear that area too and put down some new gravel for them. That was awesome. During Earth Week, we had an annual day of service, which is an annual thing here at Colby Sawyer. This promotes environmental stewardship through things like native planting, invasive species removal, litter cleanup. We did a lot of mulching, a lot of raking. It's mainly to help facilities actually get the campus ready for graduation. So it's a great way to help them, as well as just promote stewardship of our community and help students and staff feel empowered through helping their environment. That was awesome. We had over 40 volunteers of student staff and just members of facilities. So that was really, really great to see everyone come out. Our last project was probably our biggest. We created a native pollinator garden. You can see that is a picture from our first planting day, which actually got rained out. We had to stop. So we ended up planting the garden in 3 separate days because the weather kept being so terrible and so rainy here in New Hampshire. But it's okay, it's done. It was with Osborne Sargent Land Preservation Trust, and they own a lot of the land around Colby Sawyer, and they help conserve it and keep it available for use for the public. So we built this pollinator garden right outside their office building, and we had so many community members come and help and donate things. We have a bird bath that was donated by the art department here. We had another community member who created a wooden sign for us, which is awesome. I think that has just been put up. We also worked for this to be a certified pollinator garden. So UNH, which is the University of New Hampshire, they have a certain program through their extension where you can submit your garden to become actually certified. And to do that, it has to have a bunch of different requirements filled out. And so this garden, while it's in a pretty small space, it contains 9 native plants. We created some bee hotels for it. There's a rock wall that also provides some shelter. And we have 2 different water sources, so the bird bath as well as a little bee bath, which is awesome. Lucy really helped with this too, if she wants to say anything about it.
I didn't really do as much as you. I mainly got donations from my grandma, so thank you, Janice. But yeah, it was a really fun experience. I recommend making bee hotels. Those are really fun to make, and they're good for the ecosystem.
Overall, the service term was really awesome. I had such a fun time. This summer was really great with Lucy. She was such a big help.
Hello, everybody. College of the Atlantic. I'm Rashmi. Maven is over here, and
Hello.
Tyler's on his other screen somewhere because he's not in the office with us right now. This past year, we've been focusing a lot on energy efficiency and community education. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I did before Maven and Tyler came on, and then Maven and Tyler will talk about some of the things we've done over the summer. One of the big things that we've been focusing on this year is insulating one of our main administration buildings, or the attic in one of our main administration buildings, and that's what a lot of these photos are of. One of them is just of me dense packing a floor. A lot of you have seen it. A lot of you have seen these alien pictures of me with dust all over myself in the Ghostbusters outfit. One of the big rites of passages, I guess, here at the Energy Center is working on the turret's attic. The turret's annex attic also is what we've been doing. It's been a lot of undoing and redoing insulation and making sure everything's all sealed up and air sealed and tight and insulated properly. We do a lot of the insulation work ourselves here. We don't just do energy assessments and everything. So it's a lot of manual labor. We've also been insulating some of the buildings off campus that are owned by College of the Atlantic. That one picture of me and Tyler over to the far left is at one of the duplexes that the college owns. This famous, very staged middle picture of me, Maven, and Tyler is at Beach Hill Farmhouse. The one of me in a crawl space up on the far right is in one of the duplexes. All these alien photos are from there, where we're just insulating, dense packing, loose filling all of the attic spaces. And we've also been doing a little bit of outreach here on the island, on Mountain Desert Island, and also with the tribes. That one picture on the left, the bottom left, is of me and Maven at an elementary school fair in CCEC, which is the town where the Passamaquoddy tribe reservation is located. And so we're giving out shower heads and light bulbs and coloring sheets and information about energy efficiency to the children at this career fair and to their adults that were also there with them.
Over the summer, we're not really doing as much of the installation work and everything with that, but we are doing comprehensive energy audits. And one of the two central locations we've been doing that is two of the smaller islands off of Mount Desert called Great Cranberry and Little Cranberry, also known as Alsford. And so all of these pictures are from the things we've done on Alsford this year. So one part of our energy auditing is combustion appliance safety and gas leak detection. And you can see on the left that at this house that you can also see me in front of, someone's gas oven was producing way more carbon monoxide than the regular safe limit. So that's one of the things that we really look out for a lot in these houses that we're going around to. Then we can also do a blower door test. You can see our blower door in the middle there, which is this frame and a membrane that goes over it that slots into an exterior door. It uses that big fan on the bottom to essentially blow all of the air out of the house to depressurize it. What that does is it forces outside air, which is now higher pressure than inside, to come in through any air leaks or cracks in the home. And we can go through and use a thermal camera to identify those. And that lets us really specifically identify where the big sources of air leaks are in the house. And we compile together a report of different recommendations that we make to send to these homeowners. It's really just something helpful to give them a good list of priorities and a good direction to go for any sort of energy efficiency upgrades that they want to make. Those two pictures on the right are of me, Rashmi, and then one of the other people that's working with us, Pema, on the dock at Alsford with our equipment.
And I will pass it over to Tyler to talk about his a little bit.
Thank you, Rashmi and Maven. So our program, I'm working with my co-intern, Helen Lloyd, and we also have a mentee intern that's working with us through the Wabanaki Youth and Science Organization. And we are partnering together with the CCEC Resilience Committee, which is helping us do outreach and make contact with people in the CCEC Reservation and the Indian Township Reservation, which is about an hour and a half north from here. We are partnering mainly for home energy assessments and energy coaching for folks in the community. The pictures that I've included in here are major issues that we found within a home. So for example, on the farthest left of the screen, I'm pointing towards a leak on a propane tank that's on the external part of one of the houses that we've assessed. And this leak was a minor one, but still one that was at risk of catching on fire or potentially blowing up on the line. So this was a tank that we were able to assess the leak, call the fuel delivery service, Dead River, and we were able to get them to replace the tank the next day and solve that health and safety issue for the homeowner. We also are seeing some of our combustion appliances that we're measuring for efficiency, and then we're also measuring for backdrafting and CO, not just leaks, but more like above an average limit of what we want for CO to be exhausting out of the equipment. In our second to left picture here, we have our combustion analyzer reading the CO, and it's above the 200 parts per million limit. So we recommended this homeowner that they'll go out and call their service company to come check this heater and be able to do service to it so it is correctly exhausting. The next photo in the middle is one that we found within a furnace of a homeowner where their filter that's coming from the beneath of the return air ducts that will eventually feed into the supply air ducts was improperly placed and could have caught on fire, but also wasn't effectively filtering the air in the home. The next one is actually from the same home in the top right. And we've seen this in a couple homes where there's massive moisture problems within the home, lack of drainage and moisture control strategies to help get bulk moisture out of a basement. In this case, there's a large trench that the homeowner had dug that eventually leads to a drainage pipe, but the drainage pipe isn't working correctly. We were able to give them a recommendation of how to fix that and then eventually lay down a vapor barrier and spray over the vapor barrier. Our bottom picture here is when we're doing the home energy assessment and we have the blower door set up, like Maven explained. We have an IR camera, which is reading infrared the home. And this picture in the bottom right is of the attic hatch, which is typically a huge source of air loss within the home before you get into the attic. The orange reddish color that you're seeing is the attic hatch and is highlighting to us when we're looking at those IR cameras exactly where the air leakage may be. And then the last part of this, I linked an example report, which I don't think anyone will be able to click through here. And these are the reports that Rashmi and Maven's team and then Helen and I's team are generating. They're typically between 25 to 35 pages long. So a very comprehensive report that'll not only help homeowners make energy and health and safety upgrades, but also prepare them to sell their home and be a more informed homeowner about the infrastructure that they have. And I will leave it at that. We've done about 5 audits this summer since we've been up here. Those are our numbers.
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin. I am the sole CCEC person at KSU. 2 major projects this year. The first one was setting up a pollinator garden on campus. It wasn't a large space, about 350 square feet, but we had to get the place prepared. There were 3 larger trees on the plot initially that had to be taken down due to KSU regulations, so they then donated the plot to us. Ultimately, we integrated those tree stumps into a path that we put in. On the day of planting, we planted all native pollinators. We included some edibles with strawberries and blueberries. The bricks and pavers that we ended up using were all donated. We do have some educational signage up. It was supposed to be a temporary sign that's slowly become a more permanent sign, but each plant is marked with a QR code linking to the Wikipedia page for that plant. So if people want more information about it, but there's also just a sign explaining the purpose of the garden. Everything's going well with the garden so far. I do have some issues with it that I'll talk about in a few slides from now. But yeah, garden was a success and everyone's really excited when they see it. The other major project, KSU has a on-campus closet resource that's freely available for students, faculty, and staff. One of the major projects was to expand that to local high schools. Focused initially on Title I schools and schools with a strong SETS program, which SETS is Special Education Transition Services. So helping special education high school students transition out of high school. The first school we did was a Title I school. They had a very small closet already, more designed for emergency students might have like while they are at school that day. So we were able to expand that for more day-to-day living going on. The other one was a more SETS focused high school. They have a very large SETS program. So we were able to get that set up also. Both schools have student volunteers helping with those closets. The one with the SET students actually are the closets being ran by the SET students themselves. So it's helping them get on-job experience before they transition out of high school. Both schools have reported that they are self-sufficient now. They don't need any more donations from us. Both schools are receiving donations from both students and parents and the community at large. As every project it happened, there were definitely some problems that came across. The first one with the pollinator garden is the KSU landscaping team is using herbicides to kill weeds, which has a side effect of killing our plants. After we cleared the land, the KSU grounds team was trying to be helpful and spray the weeds that are coming up, not realizing that the herbicide will stick around for a while. We have lost 3 plants so far, and we're trying to get the herbicide out of that area. Every time we think it's done, we plant another plant there, and then a few months later it dies. So that's been a definite point of frustration. The other issues with the high schools were ecstatic that we got 2, but we really wanted more. One issue we kept running into is even with insider help, so people who work for Cobb County Schools who knew people to contact and who were actively campaigning on our behalf, we still received a lot of no responses. So while we're happy we got the two, we were really hoping for five, but it's an ongoing project. This might continue on next year, and hopefully we can get more schools inbound. Besides the major projects, I did what pretty much everyone else did with tabling and education events. I also was helping the KSU Ecology Club with their edible garden that they are running to help out with the on-site student pantry, and then just assisting the Office of Sustainability with their normal day-to-day affairs, helping out with composting and their food forest, and with move out for the dorms. That's my year in a nutshell. Thanks, everyone.
My name is Evan. My co-service member, Areej, is also on this call. She'll talk more about the energy efficiency side of things. But here at Miami, we focus a lot of our nature conservation efforts in Silvor Biological Sanctuary, which is a 2.5-acre property owned by the campus that's home to over 60 native wildflower species. It's a big draw for a lot of people to come in the spring to see these blooms of wildflowers. And here we were actually able to remove over 200 square feet of invasive ivy, which was really extensive. It took months to do, actually. We were also able to install a bench in this area to drive more visitors to this lesser visited corner of the park. And along with that removal of invasive ivies, we planted over 50 native wildflowers and 5 native shrubs in the same area where the bench is, really hoping to bring more people to this corner of the park and get a lot of the native plants back in there. You'll see there's a picture of me and the Miami University Natural Areas Manager installing the bench. And then on the right-hand side, there's a picture of Areej. In the middle, there's a picture of Areej with some of the wildflowers that we planted. These flowers were actually sourced from a homeowner in the local community who donated them, which is great. So we dug them up and then transported them. On the far right is actually a historic sundial that's on the property that was installed in 1935, which we want more people to see because not a lot of people know about it there. Also in the nature conservation space, we hosted 2 honeysuckle hacks, which are just events where students or residents of the community can sign up to volunteer and remove honeysuckle in the sanctuary. Honeysuckle is one of those plants that really can take over and choke out the understory, so it's great to get that out. In the pictures here, as you can see, it's a great way to get students involved. In both the pictures, a majority of the people are students, with a few residents of the community as well. And these are really well appreciated events and really well received by the local community. They're really excited to see us hauling all of these plants out of there. Lastly, for nature conservation, we were able to assist at the local community pollinator garden as well. This involved a lot of mulching, weeding, planting more flowers, and something interesting about it is it's actually planted in this pattern on the right. It's easier to see in person, but all the flowers are planted in this kind of radial pattern that when viewed from above, it looks really cool. You can kind of see it on Google Earth, but they're getting somebody with drone photography to come out and take a better photo of it because it does look really cool from above to see all the different varieties there. And that's also something that's very well received by the community because it's in such a local area. But yeah, now I'll hand it over to Areej now.
Hi, I'm Areej. I'm going to be talking about the energy audits that we did in Oxford. As you can see from the slides, we were able to complete 12 audits and 5 households received low tech interventions. And towards the end of auditing, it really picked up, especially when we started doing low tech interventions, word really started spreading. We did this in partnership with PUSH, which is People's United for Self-Help. They started telling us that a lot of people were more excited for the program in the future. So that's what is exciting to hear about. And what we provided were LED light bulbs, foam insulation tape, and we offered to clean their AC filters, outlet insulation, as well as checking for leaks. Most of the people we served were seniors, so they really appreciated us being able to do small cleaning tasks because it'd be hard for them to reach because of disability or just like growing old. Another project we were involved with through the city of Oxford was energy benchmarking. We inputted data into this program called Energy Star, where we inputted the energy bills from city buildings like the police department. And this was to see if the city met efficiency requirements for future grant applications. And then we had 2 educational events. One was the recycling event at Millet Hall. So this was a basketball game. We decided to have a table at Millet Hall and we gave out a bunch of recycling and compost bins. We were able to give out 48 recycling bins and 26 compost bins. People also requested for bins, but we weren't able to give it out that moment because they weren't able to take it because they were at a basketball game. And then we had an Earth Day event, and this was the Oxford Earth Fest. It's a few days after Earth Day on the 26th. We tabled at Earth Fest to educate the community about CCEC and the work we had done so far, and we recruited households for audits as well as for volunteer opportunities in the Silver Biological Sanctuary.
My name is Amari Carpenter, CCEC at Morehouse, and I'll just briefly introduce my team. So we have Nathan Lewis, my brother, Nico Carpenter, Omar Rowe, and then Munir, we call him MJ Elamine. This summer, we began with our energy efficiency initiatives by starting to do energy audits on campus at the college in many buildings, just because over the summer, the campus is actually closed, and we want to make sure that while campus is closed, we're not wasting money using lights, low flow faucets, all that stuff. So we wanted to get a better understanding of our energy usage while no one was on campus and get a baseline, then move on to be more energy efficient. Later in our summer service, we began doing more home energy audits and building energy audits as well. Here is some of the community engagement initiatives that we've been working on. We started with Yugo student housing. We just got the order for our light bulbs, so we'll be headed back out there tomorrow to install more light bulbs that we already had. We also have 10 community homes lined up in the 30314 zip code, which is 2 minutes from campus, so it's directly in the community. And then we also have Oaks ATL, which is a affordable housing community in the 31314 zip code as well, where we'll be installing light bulbs in 20 units. So the pictures over here, the one on top is us on the Zoom call with the Oaks ATL property manager. Then on the bottom is us meeting with the property manager at Yugo. So we have those community connections that we've been able to build this summer and that we can continue fostering throughout the school year as well. So with nature conservation, the main project that we've been working on is the greenhouse restoration in Fairburn. We have pictures of MJ and Nathan working on the farm, clearing out overgrowth, debris, restoring the greenhouse and preparing it for future planting and educational use. We've been working to do an education event at the farm for the community to teach people about the importance of community farms, community gardens to help people in food scarce areas as well. On campus at Morehouse, we have plans to refurbish a green space. We're planning to lay mulch, pull weeds, install signage, and enhance the area's aesthetic, and then also make it look nice for incoming students as well. With regards to general direct service, we've been doing a lot of preservation efforts for the college. One of the main things here is sorting through original blueprints at the college. A lot of the buildings on campus are really old. I believe the oldest building is 1989. So when it comes to restoring these buildings, we have to go through a lot of loopholes with the city of Atlanta. We want to make sure that we have the original plans to demonstrate that, like, hey, we're going to be preserving these aspects of these like historic buildings. On the right here, you have Nico looking through some of the original blueprints at the college and preparing materials to be submitted to the city of Atlanta for remodeling purposes. For future plans that we have, changing out light bulbs at Yugo, strengthening our partnership with Oaks ATL, we have plans to meet in a town hall meeting with some of the residents to educate them on what we're doing, why we're bringing them these light bulbs, the importance of having these energy efficient solutions, and also just trying to help them lower their costs when it comes to their energy bills, and also doing educational workshops for those local tenants, expanding our energy efficiency projects. One of the main struggles that we found this summer was not every building that we've been going to was paying utility bills, so we've been trying to figure out ways to expand our energy efficiency initiatives. Some closing thoughts: addressing energy efficiency, revitalizing the green spaces, supporting the college's goals for preservation, and building upon partnerships that we've been able to work on this summer. Then just pictures of Omar and MJ changing out light bulbs at Yugo as well.
I'm Cole. I'm the only CCEC person here right now, but we had two in-time members during the school year, who Carly mentioned them in the presentation. On our energy efficiency side, we partnered with the local Cornell Cooperative Extension We worked with them to do the home energy walkthroughs, to do a lot of tabling. Through our tabling, we connected with over 600 people in the North Country area, which is what the north part of New York is called, upstate. These are just a couple of the events that we tabled at the Children's Expo. Just a couple of weeks ago was the Potsdam Summerfest. That one was super fun, although it was brutally hot that day. Also on campus through a couple different education events, we reached around 60 students and community members. One of our other big partnerships was we worked with the Canton Sustainability Committee, which is a community group that's in Canton, which is the town that St. Lawrence University is in. One of the big events we held with them was the Canton Repair Fair. We recruited 11 fixers, volunteers who specialized or even just had hobbies of fixing different things, whether that's electrical items or furniture, that kind of thing. That was a huge success. We had a bunch of people show up, and pretty much every item that people brought was able to get fixed by our fixers. So that was super exciting. And now I've been helping them plan how they're going to expand on that event for next year and find other opportunities for similar events. And then the other project we worked with the Sustainability Committee on is the 64 Main Street Garden, which you can see in these two pictures. It was basically an empty lot on Main Street that within the last year, McDonald's used to be on that got torn down. And so while the town figures out what they want to do with it eventually, they let the Sustainability Committee install these garden beds where we planted just wildflower mixes. We also built this demonstration rain garden. You can see that stony part is a swale that then leads to a small rain garden on the far right that has a bunch of plants that really like water, is what we planted there. It's already made the space more lively and more green, and hopefully will give people something cool to do when they walk through downtown. Finally, we also worked on a bunch of different projects on campus. During the end of the spring semester, we worked on SLU Reuse, which is St. Lawrence University's version of collecting the things from students as they move out and then reselling it to students in the fall and donating a lot of it to local organizations. We've collected over $1,000 worth of items, and that's not including any of the clothes we collected, which get transferred to the school's student-run thrift store. So that was super cool. A very busy week and a half of sorting through all of that stuff. For our Earth Day event, we did a cleanup around the edges of campus where there's a lot of green space and got 23 mainly student and faculty volunteers to help out with that. That was a big success. We also helped out with a bunch of the different student orgs on projects. Right now we're helping pull invasives off of one of the public trails on campus, which runs along the Little River. And then we helped the food waste committee. They just this year are working with the dining hall to implement post-consumer food waste, so composting as students leave the dining hall. That's been super interesting as well. That's all the projects. It's given me a really great appreciation of local level work and the impact that you can have on things at a smaller level, especially working with the sustainability committee.
We had a good year at Stetson. We had 2 minimum time members who their terms ended already, so I'm just going to be representing the whole team and all the things that we did this year. The 2 big projects that our minimum time members had, Avery Brooks, she worked on the Living Palette, which was a student art exhibit that raised 20 pieces of student art to raise awareness about environmental issues, both locally and ones that had been affecting the cultures that the students had been coming from. This went really well. We had a lot of engagement. There was rewards that went out for the most well-received pieces of art, and we had a temporary exhibit done in the Rinker Environmental Learning Center here on campus. It was really interesting to see this crowdsourced way of bringing awareness to these kinds of environmental issues. We also had the Hatter's Closet project. Phoenix Medley and Avery Brooks worked on this together. It was a program to help reduce the amount of waste that was produced during move out here at Stetson University. We had a problem where students would take a lot of things that they didn't want anymore and throw them directly into dumpsters. So we created this system to collect mostly clothing and dorm furniture, store it over summer, and have a thrift shop event the following spring or fall. We prevented about 600 pounds of clothing and furniture from going into the landfill. The thrift store event raised $2,577 that we then donated to the Neighborhood Center of West Volusia, which is a community organization that the university partners with to help reduce homelessness and provide food to people in the greater DeLand area. For our environmental restoration projects, we had a community partner that we were super happy to be working with. D Ranch Preserve, which is a part of Conservation Florida, is a new campus partner. We were really excited to help explore those opportunities and ways that we could help out at their new preserve. One of the ways that we did a lot of work there was improving the trail system. So there are about 5 miles of trails on that property that we helped by doing trail clearing, cleaning, widening areas that were too narrow. We also helped to clean up a few dump sites on this property. They have controlled burns, and they noticed that there was a lot of metal in piles that the fire had gone through. So we went through and cleaned up these places and recovered about 1,000 pounds of scrap steel, which we were able to then take to a recycling center. The money from scrapping that steel was then donated back into Conservation Florida, and the material was able to be reused. We also had a lot of engagement on our campus's Sandra Stetson Aquatic Center, which is a showcase of what habitats look like on Lake Beresford, which is a lake connected to the St. Johns River here in Florida. There were 3 major areas that we were working: Bartram's Trail, Matt's Point, and a pollinator garden that we installed. We have a picture here of some work of people putting in new plants that we had had. It was really great to see this kind of habitat improved and to see so many people come out and work on these things. For our community service, we had an event called the Cleanup Crew, where we had volunteers from mostly Stetson student body come and do cleanup at various local parks. Over the course of the program, we dedicated 45 volunteer hours to cleaning up 3 parks around Stetson's campus. We weren't able to get a good number on how much trash we picked up, but it was really nice to see people come out and the impact that we had on keeping these public places clean. We also had a day of service for a community garden known as Hatter Harvest, which is on the edge of Stetson's campus. It's about a 1/4-acre community garden. We had 24 volunteer hours for students to come and help restore this garden better working order. This involved cleaning out the beds, restoring the compost bin. There was a lot of overgrowth around the shed that we helped to clear out. It was really good to see people come out. Over the year, we did 25 home energy assessments in 2 counties, Lake and Volusia County, and came out to a total of 194 interventions. I think we were really successful this year, and we were really glad to be a part of this program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm one of the 3 full-time members with Washington University in St. Louis EnviroCorps team. Over the year, we had 9 different people. The 3 full-time members will speak today, and then we've also had a number of minimum time members that are working either through the school semesters or over the summer. We've worked on 3 focal areas, which are urban trees, circularity, and energy efficiency. And the work that we do has really supported WashU's mission of being in St. Louis and for St. Louis. We'll start first with what I've been working in, which is the Arboretum. I've been helped by my coworker, Livy, who's on the call with me today. And so I've divided up some of the work that I've done into school semesters and summer. During the school semesters, the WashU Arboretum, which is primarily where I've worked during my time at WashU, we've tripled the number of educational events. So that's gone from about 4 per year to 12. These have included things like a winter tree ID class, a maple tapping and maple boiling to create syrup, foraging tours, and a number of collaborations either with student groups. We had a number of students where we created an event around ginkgo trees that were placed on campus and that have these beautiful yellow fall blooms, and students wanted to create designs out of them because these were MFA students, or things like educational events for staff, such as our Tree Keepers collaboration with Forest Relief, which is my community partner. With Forest Relief, I've managed over 75 volunteers, and that's not including volunteers that I've helped support with nursery days that Forest Relief has bi-weekly. But in addition to that, I've also at events manage these volunteers. I've also raised $1,000 in grant funding from the Missouri Conservation Federation, which is a private organization in Missouri that does conservation, to support a new signage project at Forest Relief's Arboretum. So not only am I supporting WashU's Arboretum, which functions at a very large, high level, this is 7,000 trees, over 400 species, I'm also working on the smaller Arboretum, which has about 100 species and 500 trees. In the summer, Livy and I have worked with ArcGIS to document and measure over 120 tree stumps at 2 parks in North St. Louis. For those that don't know, St. Louis was recently hit by a major tornado on May 16th, and a number of our parks, especially in North St. Louis, were really impacted. And so what we wanted to do was to collect data for the city and for Forest Relief to understand what trees are lost and what gaps need to be filled in this kind of crisis response. The largest stumps that we found were 81 inches, and these are trees that are, think, 70, 80 feet, and potentially that old as well in years. Between the 2 parks we surveyed, over half of the trees were totally gone and left as just stumps, which is really sad to hear, but it means that we're doing important work in determining where we need to replant. And then that goes towards the community project for the future. Where are we planting and how are we planting? Last couple notes before we move on to my fellow team members are a project that I worked on with Gina, one of my other full-time coworkers, which is tabling at the St. Louis Earth Day Festival, which is one of the largest Earth Day festivals in the country, usually has around 10,000 visitors. We worked on a project that you can see on the bottom right on flower art and pollinator education to get people attuned to the idea that it's not just bees that pollinate our native flowers and plants. And we had over 500 participants at our table that day. Also, Livy and I have worked to integrate new content into the WashU's Arboretum's page, which you can visit at trees.woostel.edu. And these are things like Indigenous tree names, working with our Indigenous center here on campus at the Brown School at WashU, creating a biodiversity inventory, and adding a GIS map so that people and visitors can look through and understand where the trees are on campus. This has been a project that's kind of not as flashy, but has been something that we've really worked hard on this entire year to make it professional and worthy of showing.
Hi, everyone. My name's Elliot Williams, and I'm going to present today on behalf of the WashU Energy Efficiency Team. We're a team of 3, myself, Sarah Yu, who's been on our team since September, and Zoe Evans Funk, who has joined us for the summer. I would like to thank them, our site supervisors who are on this call as well, and the CCEC staff that has supported us with these projects. I'm going to talk about the Green Labs program. This is a program at WashU to make research laboratories more sustainable. There is a certification that labs can earn by completing a checklist, and they're scored based on their sustainable practices. One of the things we did this year was design a new checklist that was easier for labs to use and updated with the most current lab sustainability practices. You can see here on the left, this is what that checklist looks like. And then just below that, there's some questions about the lab's energy use. There's an international challenge to reduce energy use in ultra low temperature freezers. These are used to store different lab samples, and they're very energy intensive. So maintaining them, defrosting them can reduce the energy use of a lab significantly. And we recruited labs at WashU for the challenge this year. The last thing we did with this program was to promote it to the wider St. Louis community. We led a tour of our host site focused on sustainability that also included a visit to a green lab. You can see a picture of myself talking to one of the lab members in the bottom right. This particular lab reprogrammed some of their equipment to rewash plastic that was being used in their experiments. They saved $60,000 over a few years and didn't order any more of that plastic from Europe, which was a great benefit to the environment. This plaque here is what labs receive when they're certified in the program. Here is a picture of our team. We have visited 23 households over this service term in partnership with a local nonprofit. called Energy Care. And in these households, we've been able to install 27 window inserts. We hope to install a few dozen more over the next week. We've also installed 45 LED light bulbs, 16 weather strips, and 5 door sweeps. Just below that is a picture of Sarah and Zoe building those window inserts in the shop. And to the left is a picture of myself and one of the households that we provided a window insert to, which is just behind us. The feedback from these households has been really great. People are so happy and really grateful to receive these window inserts. Last week, one of the households told us that we far exceeded her expectations. And then just this morning, we had one of the households tell us that she was so proud of us. A highlight for our team this year has been these volunteer window insert builds. We've partnered with 2 different organizations to hold these events. Community members are able to come and learn about window inserts and also help us build them for the households that we visited. So on the left, these are students from WashU School of Medicine. They actually received community service credit towards their medical degrees for participating in this volunteer event. And then on the right is an event that we held with the Sierra Club. It was also a community education event. So we talked about energy efficiency, things that they could do to improve the energy efficiency of their homes, window inserts. Most of these volunteers signed up to help for 2 hours. After 3 hours, we had to start taking away supplies and ending the event. So a lot of people stayed for an extra hour, and it was a good event.
Awesome. Thank you both for kicking this off. Hi, everyone. I'm Gina. I am the full-time member of the Circularity and Waste Reduction team here at WashU CCEC. This year, I was joined by 2 part-time members. So Cosmo on the bottom served during the school year, and Erica in that top left corner is our intern this summer with the CCEC team. This program is running circularity and solid waste. I help run the Share Our Stuff Move Out collections in the spring. Cosmo and I worked on increasing awareness of the Circularity Center, which is a physical warehouse space that houses surplus from the university and intends for those items to be reused instead of thrown away. We held weekly sales and actually saw a 59% increase in sales attendance between the fall and spring semester due to our awareness raising campaign. Over the service term, we recruited and managed 50 volunteers, and we also work very closely with local nonprofits in St. Louis. And they're all for kids in St. Louis, for homelessness. We donated about 36,000 pounds of usable items to these nonprofits through partnership and through figuring out what they need and getting it to them. A highlight from the term was the lab supply swap. This was a partnership between the circularity and the energy teams with Green Labs. And this was WashU's first ever lab supply swap. If you're not familiar or heard of these events, it's a chance for research labs to donate surplus items that they might have in their lab, things gathering dust, taking up space. And then labs can also come and take those donated items for free. And the intention is to reduce waste, to free up space in the lab, and to save labs money. For this event, we diverted 1,625 pounds of usable lab items from the landfill. And those items at their market value are about $125,000. So lab supplies are very expensive, and we were really excited to just see the excitement from the labs. We had about 200 labs either donating or picking up from this event. And also, in the spirit of circularity, we did not throw out anything at the end unless it was trash. And so all usable items went to local organizations outside WashU, such as the St. Louis Zoo or KidSmart Tools for Learning, which is a nonprofit that donates school supplies to kids who need them.
Hi, I'm Andrew Barry.
I'm Shay.
And we are with Weber State. The organization we're associated with is called the Sustainability Practices and Research Center, but we call it SPARK for short. We first want to recognize that we are missing our full-time member because she graduated from our program. Izzy also contributed a lot to our work over this last year-ish. So, we miss you, Izzy. First, before we get into our slides, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the work that was not related to our grant deliverables. For the first 4 or 5 months of our time here, we spent working on the Intermountain Sustainability Summit, which we helped host and plan. There were 450 participants, and we helped with a variety of things. Shay helped plan the social event and hosted the check-in. I hosted a session on energy efficient architecture for a local library and designed the awards program, including a physical award made by a local artist out of reclaimed wood. We tabled at the event and assisted with the setup. We also tabled a lot on campus. This didn't count towards our deliverables, but we were really happy to do it and connect with students. We also volunteered at a clothing swap, and I don't know how much clothing we diverted, but it was a lot. For our home energy efficiency program, we did some low-tech interventions. We didn't have any blower doors or anything fancy like that, but we completed 36 homes along the Wasatch Front, including light bulb replacements. We did faucet aerators, weather stripping, door sweeps, all sorts of stuff. We also provided them with a list of approved resources at the end through email. And then we hosted 2 DIY energy efficiency workshops and connected participants with resources and materials to support ongoing energy savings. And part of those workshops were a soft agreement to follow up either through email, a Zoom call, or a phone call to see how those low-tech installations went at their own homes that they did by themselves. We also hosted a river cleanup for one of our conservation projects. On April 12th, we supported 33 volunteers in collecting trash and debris along the Ogden River and the 21st Street Pond. We removed many, many things, including shopping carts and mattresses. Our volunteers had a lot of fun. We ended up removing about 2,000 pounds of debris, which was a quite significant dumpster, if you want to picture it in your head. We also did 3 Earth Day events. The 2 Earth Day events we hosted here at Weber State were about stress relief because Earth Day fell on finals week this year. So we partnered with the Weber State Stress Relief Center and the botany department. We put little signs up around the Stress Relief Center and one of the conservatories or greenhouses that kind of associated conservation with being stress-free and relieving stress while also raising awareness about environmental stewardship. The last conservation event we did, we assisted Greenwood Charter School in recruiting a couple of people from Weber State to help us build a compost bin to better fit their needs. They already had one compost bin, but they wanted one with doors and stuff. And so we used pallets and some engineering knowledge from one of our volunteers to make that happen for them. They mostly use this for educational purposes, but that will have a resounding impact on the community long term. The last thing that we wanted to talk about is Spark is opening a home for sustainable living soon that's going to be about energy efficiency, specifically in our community. And we helped set up that home and set up those offices because we got a $2.4 million grant to do so. And so we really, I think, set up our future predecessors who are going to be full-time employees for success by giving them these workshops and giving them a lot of information and setting them up with programming that already exists.
We will move next to the Eagle Eye Institute, which is working with the EnviroCorps Connect Science program, which they'll explain a little bit more in their presentation. This is a specialized program that we launched last year, and I will go ahead and play their pre-recorded presentation.
Hello, my name is Sydney, and I am a minimum time service member with Connect Science and Eagle Eye Institute. So Eagle Eye Institute's purpose is to offer learning programs and opportunities for all youth to experience well-being, belonging, and empowerment through a relationship with nature. I implemented the Connect Science curriculum in our after-school Eagle clubs. We engaged over 46 youth consistently in grades 4 through 7. And we were working in the city of Holyoke, which is here in Western Massachusetts. And a little bit about Connect Science, their purpose statement is that students who participate in service learning gain the knowledge, attitudes, and skills needed to become an engaged citizen and solve environmental challenges that lie ahead. We learned a lot about energy, the problems with energy, renewable versus non-renewable, paper versus plastic. We also incorporated in field trips and guest speakers to really help build a holistic experience for these youth and to give them a wide range of topic areas. So here's some photos over the course of the few months that we had Eagle Club. We had field trips to the Holyoke Dam and Fishway. We did an edible foraging walk. So we looked at medicinal and edible plants right in the city. They got to have some fun in the snow. We focus on fun, education, and being outside. Some other events I participated in during my service were tabling at a few different events. So one was the Future Planet Fiesta, which was this amazing event put on by a high school senior, and it was so many cool organizations here in Massachusetts. We also tabled at Canopy, which was a forestry conference at UMass Amherst. Eagle Eye hosted an Arbor Day event in Holyoke where the youth actually got to plant a tree at the state park. We also hosted a Green Career Day in Springfield, and with footage that I captured from that day, I made a little video for social media. And I also hosted and facilitated a mindfulness workshop and microgreen planting with a youth group in Springfield. Some other things I was up to was instructor orientation, and I'll speak a little bit more to what an instructor is to Eagle Eye, but basically they're volunteers who help us with our other type of programming called Learn About Forest, which I will get to in the next slide. We work to orient them and explain them and train them on how they can best fit our educational model and give their expertise to these youth. And I also participated in intern orientation. So these are our two lovely summer program interns, Haley and Jamal. And my connection with Eagle Eye actually extends to last year where I was a program intern. And in the winter of this year, Kira reached out to me and was like, you might be interested in this AmeriCorps position. And I definitely was. So I'm so happy I did this. And just a little bit about what our Learn About Forest programs are. We engage over 100 students in Western Mass every summer. It's a wide range of ages and also group sizes, but we like to keep it small so that everyone gets a very individual experience. And these are just one-day programs running from about 9:30 in the morning to about 4 p.m. And it's a jam-packed schedule, including the environmental professionals or the instructors. The youth get to partake in a stewardship project, play games, just get comfortable outside, and they even get to swim in our waterfall that we have on site. Here's just some more pictures. I wanted to include some pictures of the programs that we've had this year so far, this summer so far. So we've seen lots of cool things, got to move a tree off a trail and hold animals and just get people outside and get them having a good time. Now I'll just speak to my future with Eagle Eye as I wrap up the presentation. I actually will be continuing on after my service term is complete to be a part-time program coordinator. So I'm very excited to continue working with Eagle Eye, and I'm so happy that AmeriCorps was able to keep my connection with Eagle Eye going.
Just building off of what Sydney just shared in that recording, if anyone else wants to shout out what they're moving on to, either off mute or in the chat, I would love to see that.
I'm moving on in September to work at an installation weatherization company in Portland, Maine, at Evergreen Home Performance.
I'm excited that the community organization that I'm working with, Conservation Florida. Once my AmeriCorps term is over, I'm going to be transitioning to working with them more, so I'll get to keep on going in the same projects.
Thank you all so much, and a huge congratulations on reaching the end of your service term here. Today we heard about people planting pollinator gardens, tens of thousands of pounds of waste diverted, dozens of households assisted with energy efficiency upgrades, trails being cleared, educational events for kids and adults, community spaces being developed, and all of this is happening all across the country. We're so grateful for the work that our members and our supervisors are doing. You all make it possible to do this work and to create this space where people can really grow their careers while helping the environment. And all of you have made this second year of our national program such a huge success. And we can't say thank you enough. We can't say congratulations enough. We're deeply, deeply grateful for the work that you've done. Thank you so much. You can give yourselves a virtual round of applause. Thank you so much for sharing.